an extreme. And then when you achieve these extremes, there generally is some profit taking. There generally is some repositioning, let's say, and occasionally a big reposition by the market movers. And that's what we want to try to capitalize on, is what we would call, some people would call the insiders, the market movers, the people that have the big money. We're just small traders and we're trying to make a living, and we can go along with that wave just like a surfer can ride a very large wave like in Hawaii and learn how to catch those, which there's a certain learning curve with those. You get thrown against the coral several times on your effort to master this technique versus catching a small wave off the California coast that is maybe a 5-foot wave. So a whole lot different learning curve involved there, but a similar process. So we're just hoping to take a little piece of the pie, and that can be done. And it just needs to have patience. It needs to have some discipline and to wait for your trade, your setup. And this is my setup, so I'm happy and glad to be able to show you my setup. So now we're possibly reaching an extreme or closer to the upper edge over here, but still, you know, not really in an area where I would be happy. Now, if we came down and made a second top here, then, you know, we would be looking at those two, and then and only then do I really care to look at the indicators. Until then, the indicators can just sit down there and do whatever the heck they want to do. Really doesn't matter to me. So let's go back on the chart to these are all non-cherry picked, just going back on a local chart that I've had. And what I would do is, of course, look at the peak. So as this would be coming up, we would see it like this on the left side of the screen. Of course, we never see the end of it. We're trading the far right edge. And as that move would progress, it would progress in some type of fashion like this, of course a little slower than what I'm showing. So now you have the possibility of a initial, what I would call the anchor, and I would circle this and go okay. Now we're ready to begin looking for divergences. So we have what may be the left edge of an M. We do have a spike down, so this might be the center of what we would call an M. So again, I might circle this. I like to see an extreme reaction down here and a sell-off that would break the back of the bulls. Then we would, of course, look at possibly this area. It's not quite as high as this area, but let's look at the indicators. They're all down, showing that it is a avergence and possibly a divergence because they're so close to equal. So I would look at this as well and probably circle this. I like to trade when the price has made actually a higher high than this left edge over here. So to be honest with you, I have other techniques that I would probably have stayed out of this trade right here, knowing that I didn't have one of my other criteria met. So therefore I would allow the trade to make its little dip and then make this rally here. When this rally occurs, the end of it shows some definite wicks and some action up at the top here. This is where we can begin to again look at the indicators. We draw our tight trend line up the inside. Okay. And now we look for at least a trend line break. And as we're looking at the indicators here, we see that yes, we still are lower, prices higher. Beautiful, beautiful. Prices upsloping really nicely, probably 20-degree upslope at least. We have a nice downslope to the MACD lines. We have a histogram though that does not agree. The histogram is smaller over here and larger over here. So let's look to maybe one other indicator. Force index has a very nice high histogram over here, crossed below the zero line several times, and then made an attempt again up here to have a indicator that was positive, very small compared to this hump over here. So again, it's down sloping, as price is upsloping. Again, a qualified divergence with 2 indicator agreement. This is enough for me. When it begins to give up in this area, it begins to form a consolidation right at the trend line. When we have a close below the trend line, which is in this area right here, we can consider at that point in time possibly taking up positions. And this is where I would consider taking up my position and being short. Again, you'll see that it had a pretty nice run down. It had a nice run from, let's say, 91.24 all the way down to 90.80. So we had another 40 to 45 tick move. You know, it doesn't take me a whole lot of understanding to see that this could be profitable if somebody was patient enough to wait for this, and this is exactly what I did, and this is what I do in my trading. So I try to make it simple, keep it simple, don't make it complex. Find one technique that you like. Maybe you don't like this kind of technique. Maybe you like to trade with the trend. Maybe that's your personality, going with the flow. However, in my trading and my experience, I've found that a lot of the professionals that I've learned from that have been kind enough to share their wisdom and their knowledge over the years, most of them have been successful trading counter trend trades. And sometimes you get yourself a hold of a nice trend, because when the counter trend occurs, a trend occurs on the other side at times. Not always. Sometimes it's just a nice little move that you take a piece of. But if you're a trend trader, sometimes being at the counter trend turn allows you to take place in the trend. So you get the best of both worlds. The thing I have not had a lot of success, which some people do, is trying to pick the top, pick the exact top. Because sometimes the market can move a little bit higher and just whip up and take stops out, rather than waiting for a little bit of confirmation, allowing price to show its weakness, show its cards, and then being able to take a position where it may be advantageous in the majority of cases. And then having the confidence, the perseverance, and the inclination to follow your plan, follow your belief through. And I hope this helped some of you on divergences. And I would like to, of course, extend any contact information if you would like further education on the subject. I'm going to try to do some further videos on some of the other subjects, and maybe cover some trend lines and cover some of the other tools and techniques that professionals like to use. And have a great day.